call together the meeting of the Conservation Improvement Committee. I think we're all here except for one, so we got a quorum. Does anybody have any comments on the previous minutes?
Motion to move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Big surprise. Okay. Current business, resolution number 180, public hearing on proposed local law number J.
Table.
Table at the request of the sponsor, and is that also true for 2?
Yes. Table.
Okay. And I understand Ralph has requested that we table item 3, the resolution number 337. So, Laura, you are up. Item 4, approving the Albany County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Plan.
I brought Tom Gallagher with me from Cooperative Extension. You may know him. He helped coordinate the plan, so he'll be able to help with any questions. I also have, I'm going to pass around a brochure. It's the short story, the Ag and Farmland Protection Plan. And I figured I'd just give you a quick summary of where we came from and where we're at, and then open it up to questions if that works. Albany County adopted its first agricultural and farmland protection plan in 2004. The recommendations focused on increasing market opportunities and public understanding of farm issues and retaining farmland for agricultural purposes by keeping farms viable. Following adoption of the plan, the county got to work completing rapid response projects that were short-term, low-cost initiatives to foster awareness of agriculture and promote local products. This included adoption of a county right to farm law, product promotion through a farm map, farm tour, and farm to restaurant week, and training for assessors on agricultural assessments, among other things. Since the completion of the first plan, many issues remain the same. However, given new challenges and opportunities that have arisen over the years, we recognize the need to update the plan and received a grant from New York State Ag and Markets to do so. The purpose of the updates to reassess the county's farmland and agricultural resources and establish initiatives to enhance profitability and identify opportunities for farmland preservation. Agricultural and Community Development Services was hired as a consultant to prepare the plan, which was developed in coordination with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Albany County Economic Development Conservation and Planning, the County Ag and Farmland Protection Board, and had assistance from an advisory committee made up of municipal officials and staff, farmers, and ag agency staff. Development of the plan included data collection and mapping, public outreach through a farmer and public survey, and interviews, a farm tour for local officials, and a public meeting to review the draft plan. The plan and recommendations are divided into 2 chapters, one focused on protecting farmland through land use conservation tools, and one focused on viability recommendations for programs that strengthen the industry through market development and professional and technical assistance. The final plan provides a roadmap for the county and partners to develop and support policies and programs that help to enhance the agriculture industry in the county and protect farmland. A recommendations matrix at the end of each chapter lists the possible lead and support agencies for each recommendation, as well as the budget impact, potential funding support, and a timeline for implementation. At the October meeting of the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, the board voted to recommend adoption of the plan to the county legislature. Following adoption, the plan will be submitted to New York State Ag and Markets for approval by the commissioner.
Very good. Now we're updated. Did you get that, Counselor?
I did.
Any questions?
Motion to move it.
No, excuse me.
Go ahead, Vicki.
Thank you. I want to make sure I'm not mistaken this. I think item 5 is where we're discussing removal of property from the, okay. Sorry.
So we do
hold
the
it
plan
for-
first, okay?
All right, do the
Yes.
plan first, thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Motion to move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5, public hearing on proposed modifications to the agricultural district number 3.
The Ag and Farmland Protection Board has completed the review of agricultural district number 3. There were 333 acres of farmland recommended for addition to the district, and 875 acres proposed for removal from the district. I think the list of properties is included in the backup. The public hearing, for the public hearing, all of the owners proposed to be added and moved from the district will be notified of the public hearing and have an additional opportunity to comment.
Yep.
What would cause someone to be removed from the list?
Either they recommended, or they requested to be removed from the district, that they weren't involved in agriculture, had developed the land, no longer owned the land. Sometimes they'll get mail and don't own the land.
So if I took, you get a lot of parcels on like Abbey Road. If I took those parcels and combined them and developed them.
And they already are developed, the ones on Abbey Road.
Okay,
So there are a couple of big chunks that are subdivisions in Bethlehem that have already been subdivided and are under development. So those are pretty much the Charleau Builders and a couple
so
of
all
other
these
ones.
developers that I'm reading here are looking to be exempt so they can develop their lands to build houses?
No, that's to be removed. from
That's
the
what I mean,
district.
removed, what's that mean?
They're no longer included in the agricultural district because they're not eligible, because they're not primarily agricultural land,
Oh, I see.
so. And if
So
not
they're being
farming-
developed, so they have to leave the program.
Right.
Right.
Gotcha.
Any
yeah.
permanent conversions made, we can take it out as a board. So these are considered permanent conversions because it'll be
So if you're a
developed.
farmer and you want to develop your land and you're in the agricultural district,
You
Yeah.
can do that.
you have to be removed.
You can develop it.
You can develop
just, yeah, if you were receiving an agricultural exemption and you develop it, there may be,
That's different.
yeah, there
Yeah, I mean,
there
if
could
you're
be a
just
penalty.
a farmer, want to develop it, there's no problem, they just come back like these people.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And some people, that's why some people also choose to take it out of the district because they plan on marketing it for development and they think that it's more,
But doesn't that hurt what we're trying to do?
well, but the ag district law states that you need to review, the reason you review the district is to, is so that it contains primarily agricultural land. If it's not, you're not eligible to be in the district, so the
If
point
you
in
bought a
ag
house in the
district.
district,
Yeah.
and if you wanted to change, I thought the whole concept also was to protect and preserve agricultural in an area so that someone can't come in, you know, and complain about the noise of the farmer with his tractor at the 5 o'clock in the
That's true,
morning.
that's a benefit
So I
of being
thought
in the
that-
district is
So, but if these
protection
people are taking
against
themselves out of it,
complaints.
they no longer apply to any of this stuff.
Correct.
They don't
But
get
it's
any-
it's the landowner's choice to be included in the district or not. So for people who are requesting removal from the
So
district.
even though we create an agricultural district for those benefits, they opt in, the farmer opts in.
Right, it's the landowner's decision to be.
I don't think we've ever had a farmer ask to have their land removed.
None of they were
other-
farming.
Yeah, other than somebody that is gonna do some mining and things like that. So, but
The economic incentives are there for him to stay in that, he or she to stay in that program if they're gonna keep farming. But if they're gonna develop it, then they opt out. Vicki, did you have a question?
Just a quick question. I should know this, but what are some of the economic advantages to someone being listed in the ag district?
Well, for most part, the economic development, or the economic, is the ag assessment, where you're assessed at the ag value of the land, so it's a reduction in taxes.
plus it limits liability lawsuits or frivolous lawsuits, so that if I was a farmer and the manure smelled, well, if you bought a house next to an ag district, you, in your buy-sell agreement, it would say that you're next to an ag district, or there might be odors, flies, noise, et cetera, et cetera. So then if you tried to file this frivolous lawsuit, it would actually go through the Commissioner of Ag and Markets, and he would make a ruling on it. And he would say, this is a normal agricultural practice, you can continue to do what you always do. So there's some, and it's a little bit like the original right to farm law. We've got a right to farm law we adopted in Albany County, about 9 years ago? I think, and then almost all the towns have either adopted that, the county one, or have their own right to farm law. And then there's some other tax incentives for being in the ag district. It also, like, a good example, Voorheesville School, when they wanted to build their new football field, they wanted to take the field right next door. It was in an ag district, the farmer didn't want to sell. So because they were in an ag district, they couldn't take it by eminent domain. So it'll, you know, keeps municipalities from taking land. by eminent domain if it's in an ag district unless there's a willing seller.
Lynn?
So, this is why putting things in perpetuity for it to be natural is important, because it seems like though we have a right to farm law, we also have a right to develop law. And so you're saying we're putting in 300 acres and we're taking out 300? So it's, to me, like that's a net 500 we're losing.
There's actually,
Most on Bethlehem.
There's actually a net gain because while there's only 333 acres being put in this year during the review, we've also established that annual review process that you hear about every year.
Sure.
You know, and parcels are added under that as well. So it's actually a net increase of 269 acres if you include all the annual additions.
So my real question was this a lot? Is this a lot? Like, this is like the biggest number of acres we've ever conversed about since I've been sitting here?
It probably is, yeah, and I think a lot of them has to do with the subdivisions. The subdivisions.
Keep in mind the towns, it's Colony, Guilderland, you know, the towns that are doing
Yeah, this
more
district
development.
is the most.
New Scotland, Queens, you know, more ag-related, that's part of the district. It's
Suburban.
5 towns for this is the biggest district by far, as far as land.
Vicky?
So I see like Nestor Church is listed here. So I'm not sure the taxes, if any, they would be paying, but them and other landowners where the taxes be going up.
No, you have to make a certain amount of money producing agricultural products to be eligible for the tax incentive. It's not related, well it is, but you don't have to be in the ag district to claim it, but you also can't claim it unless you're an agricultural producer. So,
What's the minimum amount?
$7,000.
Of revenue or
Sales.
Agricultural sales,
Sale,
not profit.
yeah.
never a profit.
All right, are there any other questions? Is there a motion to approve? Sam, second? Richard, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 6, public hearing on proposed local law number N.
See you, Don.
Good evening. Making my rounds, this is for the public hearing relating to promoting the hire of economic development director. We made some changes with some input, which we could pass it down, I guess. Give me that. We passed through law last night, some of you were there.
And this is different from what was in the package.
This is just the law, underlying law, but I figure everybody want to see what we're having a public hearing on. So. Everybody get one? It's the same one I passed out last night.
I don't have one.
No, this is his amendment.
We struck, if you look on the back, it says old version. And in the old version, we struck the definition, or, sorry, guidance requirements, and inserted a new guidance sentence in the front.
I have a question. So, this person doesn't have to be a planner. Is that what you're saying?
Doesn't have to be a planner. It has experience as a
Yeah,
planner.
he can have experience in planning,
Right,
but he doesn't have to
Or
be
she.
a planner,
right,
like the law is now.
right. That's the change. So it's experience in related fields of metropolitan, regional, county, or municipal planning.
There's nothing, there's really not, an economic development person is actually a key salesperson. That's what an economic development, you know, you deal with, I deal with, we don't deal with. Really doesn't get into planning as much, just doesn't get into the whole perspective in economic development is such a loose term today that everybody uses. The key for me to hire an economic development person, if I want in the county, would be someone who's got marketing and sales experience and who knows how to market Albany County in conjunction, working with the planning departments in the municipality. That's what I'm looking. The best economic development people in this state are our marketing people. It's fact. So, I'm glad the planning thing is out of here, because planners don't make big
I
marketing.
mean, I should make a statement, there's already been a version that's passed out of the committee, so.
So if
Which has been debated
if this is
for a long
open up,
time.
good. I'm sorry?
Which has been debated for a long time.
I'm sorry, I have the floor.
Sorry.
So, I'm looking at this different than what we have in place now than where what's in place now is a planner, and only a planner can be here. So this actually is better,
Yeah, this is encouraging that kind of
more of a
experience.
field,
absolutely.
open field.
But more of an open field, right.
I want to remind you, this is just about the public hearing, this item on the agenda. Is that Gil's hand, or?
Yeah, it's
Gil?
me. Yeah, it's me. The salary, is there a salary here?
No, this is about the public hearing for the definition of the hiring of economic developer. It's not.
Didn't we agree at the public hearings, we put the salary out there so people could see that?
That's for
Okay.
postings, yeah. This isn't a posting, though. We're talking about public hearing on amending the charter for the definition of it. You can't put a salary in it. Amending the charter.
When you do the job.
When you post the job, you would have the salary there.
Yeah, that's if you posted the job. If everybody agrees and we post the job.
Then you put the salary in?
Yeah.
I think it was like, in the budget, it's nothing. You're not gonna get a good economic development person for what we're offering them.
That's another.
We're not even close to it.
What is that?
It's like 80,000, something like that.
Well, I think it's up to 120,
Yeah.
but it's still probably not up
No,
to snuff.
no. Then a good economic guy is gonna get 180, 190.
But it's a place to start.
All right, I just want to remind everybody, this is just an item about the public hearing. There may be floor amendments, which I can talk to you about later, but right now, are we all in favor? Is there a motion to?
Well, if there's gonna be amendments, you should do it now, because
Just
you're
to,
gonna open the public hearing.
we need some clarification here, because there was a version of this that's already been passed out from this committee. Procedurally, the cleanest way to do this, there's a version in law that we discussed last night. The same version should be passed out of both committees, and the amendment that Mr. Drake is proposing should be done on the floor.
This is the same one.
That we didn't pass the law, if I'm correct.
Yeah, we did.
Well, what I'm saying is there was a previous version passed out, if I'm not mistaken. Am I
No.
right about that?
No, we did
There
old
wasn't a
version, new
previous
version,
version?
just like the same.
I was
copy.
under the understanding
There
that
was a
Tim,
previous version of this law
Yeah.
which was passed out of this committee,
Yes,
but
correct.
not the law committee.
correct, and that's the issue.
That's
So we're voting on the same
that's what's
line
called
as
the old version on the back.
Law does,
No,
have-
no,
and
this
law
is-
was delivered, the new version.
There's
last
already
night.
been a version of this passed out, so to be consistent, the law committee should pass out the same version, and the amendment that you're proposing should be done on the floor, rather than passing out two separate versions. That the cleanest procedural way to do this is to pass out the same version that this very committee passed out, so they're consistent, and the amendment you're making, you make it on the floor, and you're presenting this, which you presented to the law
But this
committee.
passed an old version. We're back for
That's-
a new public hearing.
Correct, my point is, you don't want to pass out a different version out of the law committee when we get back to the law committee. So what I'm saying is, this should be seen as what you're proposing the amended final version to be. Otherwise, you have two competing versions. You have the version that this committee passed out, which is different than what you're proposing.
What they passed out in law.
They haven't passed out.
Yeah, we
said
did it
they
last
did?
night.
No. The
We
law.
passed the public hearing.
Hold on a second. The law could not have been passed. The public
Right, the
hearing
public
was
hearing.
correct.
Right.
My point is, when we get back to the law committee, you're gonna pass out the version that this committee passed out and make an amendment on the floor, which is what you're proposing.
Okay.
Yeah, because you gotta
That's
change the
the-
public, you gotta change the
Yeah,
local law.
that's the
Because
cleanest-
this changes the local law.
Correct. That's the
Right.
cleanest procedural way to do it. That's my only point.
Okay.
So what you handed out then, what Todd handed out, is the version that would
Correct.
have to be amended on the floor.
Correct. That's correct.
Local
After
law.
law passes the same one that we looked at before
Correct.
and approved.
And law is aware of the changes. Mr. Drake proposed them last night in the law committee.
Right.
This has been presented to both committees. So that's the cleanest procedural way to do it.
Actually, they should in law amended the local law at the same time they did the public hearing.
The problem is, Mr. Demolowitz, is you've already passed out a version from this committee, which is the previous version of this law. You've already done that.
Right.
So if you pass
We
out a
enact that,
different, correct, but you don't want to have floating around two separate versions of the same law.
Well,
So in order to, that's my point.
You're the legal eagle, I
Yeah.
tip my hat to you, whatever
Sure.
you say, but I would.
Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
doesn't that put us in a position of now having a public hearing on something that we know is going to be changed? I mean, that's ridiculous.
It does seem to me that that's the case, and that's kind of why I'm just trying to check on what the proper step is here.
Are you on first here with me? What?
Oh, well, wait a minute now. Actually, if this,
The public hearing with that law was on this version, and this committee is passing this version for the public hearing.
But this version has not been passed in any committee. This version has not been, what I'm saying is there's already, the problem we have here is there is a version that this committee passed out before you proposed your amendment. You
And it
came-
went to the floor.
Correct, and you came
I think I
back
understand what it is.
and proposed an amendment after this was passed out in its original form.
And
That's the
what
problem
public
we have
hearing is
here.
on, right?
That's the problem we have here. You can't, in order to make these two coalesce, we have to go from the perspective that the law committee version will be passed out in the same way that this was passed out, and will be amended.
Where is the local?
in other words, not this version.
sorry?
that's handed out today.
Where is the local law?
I don't, it's not in,
Yeah.
it's not in this committee yet.
That's,
It should
well,
be on
this
previous
committee,
business.
this
It should be
committee,
on previous business.
It
then.
should be on
The-
previous business.
the
yeah.
referral for the public hearing should not have come back to this committee. It should have just gone to law. This committee already passed out the law.
That's a good
So the
point.
law is
That's
not
why it's not on
before this committee. That's the problem.
So now we got a problem because it's passed out, and now, you have.
That's exactly what I'm trying.
Right.
Committee on the floor?
Correct, but it should have just been sent back to the law committee, which had not passed it
Didn't we
out.
say
It
that?
should not have been sent back to conservation.
I told you some kind of thing.
I'm telling you how to fix it.
General.
Why are they going to the?
So
mean,
what
just
we're
to-
having a public hearing on is the original version.
No,
Change the
public
title.
hearing has
Right,
been
change the
presented by
title.
Mr. Drake. We're having a public hearing on the amended version. That's what's gonna go out.
This is just changing the description. When it goes out to advertising.
Okay, so the public hearing is going to be on the amended
The
version.
public hearing will be on the amended version. You will then get back to law
That's the
and you
law
will
we passed.
pass out the original version, and on the floor, you'll amend it for what you had on the public hearing. That's the cleanest procedural way you can do it.
So then
Sounds
Richard's-
rather unclean, but yeah. that's
Is
what we'll do.
Richard's concern,
Well, let me be clear. The alternative is you pass out two separate versions of a law
Yeah.
that are not equivalent.
Right.
So now you've got two laws that you're forcing to be voted on, two separate votes, when you can just have one amendment,
Right.
amend it. and
Okay, so we're
That's
fine for
my-
the public hearing. When we get there, we're gonna amend this. Down the road, we're gonna amend this. We're gonna have to,
What's going out for the public hearing is this amended version of the law.
so are we coming back here for the local law at all, or no?
Yes, we are.
We are, okay, so we're gonna come back, we're gonna put this in
As per usual, we
again.
have to have the public hearing.
We're gonna put this in
We-
again, right?
You're not putting it in again,
No.
it's in.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so when you vote on this next month, as the
Well,
sands of time filter
Yes,
here.
correct.
So when you vote on it next month, are we gonna vote on this or this?
So let me be clear. I feel as though there's a lot of confusion going on here. This committee has no law to vote on. Absolutely no law is going to be voted on in this
Right,
committee.
'cause we already-
There's already a version of the law out.
So
Is
we're not
everyone
coming
clear on
back.
that?
We're not coming back here then.
You're not coming back here for the law. You're
Coming
coming back to the
law.
law committee. Are we
Okay, so we
clear on
don't,
that?
so it's moot for this committee.
As long as you pass the public hearing out,
Right,
it's done.
okay.
Public hearing should never came back.
Yeah. The public hearing should not have been
That would've
referred
been the
back
easiest
to
way
this
clean it
committee.
up.
Yes.
Let law handle it all.
So we
Correct.
can all agree that we need to leave.
Well, you need to, well, now, let me
Rip
get,
this piece of paper off, forget we had this conversation.
are there any other questions on what I just said?
No, we're good, I'm good.
Okay.
Kevin, when does it go to the public and they know what the salary is?
So, Gil, that's gonna happen at the public hearing.
later, that's
Let me
later.
ask one quick question.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, Rich.
I didn't get an answer.
Sure. So, Gil, when we get to the public hearing phase, you're gonna have a handout.
But why are we having a public hearing about a law and not telling the public what this job is gonna pay?
We are.
Because it's already a matter of
This-
That's-
record. It's not a new job.
That's a
it's the
separate
same
issue.
job.
Well, what's the job, what's the pay?
It's one-
Well, we're gonna post it when the
120.
public hearing is out. We're posting the salary and consistent with the resolution you pass out, and there'll be a handout at the public hearing.
At the public hearing.
Yep,
When we do this, the salary will be with the
when we
judge.
do the public hearing, correct.
Who appoints that position? That's always been our problem. Executive says it's his appointment, and we say it's ours.
No, well, we have to ratify it,
Ratified.
or whatever, we have to
Yeah, we confirm.
confirm, thank you.
But we don't.
So he puts
who
up,
appoints?
he puts up the name.
He puts it.
Can I buy a vowel?
As he does, well, I don't have some.
All right.
No, I still have a question here.
Okay, Richard.
Get that arm up higher.
Jeez. So what you're telling me is we'll go through this process, then we will put an amendment on the floor. If it is decided that that amendment is of significant, a significant change, doesn't that constitute something that now has to go back to a public hearing?
Mr. Mendick, I think you're missing a piece of what I said. This, what's going out with the public hearing is this amended version. There is gonna be no question that the public has seen this version. So the amendment is a procedural aspect that we have to do to reconcile the two competing versions.
I'm with you, and I'm good.
So in other words, the public hearing is looking at
No,
the,
we don't
what
have
the
anything to vote on.
projected.
Nothing
Sure,
to
we're not
do.
here.
Motion to
Public hearing, the public hearing needs to be.
No, the public
Public
hearing
hearing,
has
gotta pass public hearing.
Yeah.
Someone make a motion for that?
Motion on that.
I think there was.
Well, we also have to amend this resolution, the date, because the date's incorrect.
Rich,
So we
did
have
you
to
make
amend it.
make a motion for the?
It's
public
January
hearing?
29th.
As amended,
We have to amend, we need a motion to amend to January
I
29th.
make a motion to
We need to
that.
pass that.
I'll second.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion to amend the date and a second. All in favor? All opposed?
Okay, now you
Motion
need
to
a
approve
motion.
amended resolution.
Okay, now we need a motion to approve the resolution for the public hearing
As amended.
as amended.
Yeah, I already did it.
Got it again? Second?
Sure.
Lynn, all right.
Not gonna answer my question.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes.
So this has to go, this is a charter change, so it has to go to the public?
This is-
No.
It's not a,
Even though this was a-
No, it's not a referendum.
it's not, it doesn't require a referendum.
How is that decided? Like, when does it change?
So it's under municipal.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you all.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody seconded his motion, you're in the middle